Good morning. Could you just run that while I'm talking? Because it's going to really have greater impact. So, the assignment is to talk about storms. And as Sal and I briefly discussed, storms are getting really depressing around the world. In our lifetime, this word has gone from being an occurrence to a calamity. 24/7 streaming weather channels and smartphones that let us follow these storms anywhere and in real time. These things even have names. In fact, we almost judge them as if they're human now, according to their height, their breadth, their speed, direction, impact, rainfall, destruction, and loss of life. And we all remember those that are seared most in our memories. For me, it was the Gerald tornado in Texas, Andrew, Katrina, Dorian, and so many more. But today, we're not talking about those storms. I want to talk about our storms, the storms that land here in the lakeshore of West Michigan. We deal with them, we rely on them, and we forget them, unless we're impacted personally and we lose our power. We don't give them names, we just describe them. If they bring rain, they're called a rainstorm. And if it's thunder, it's a thunderstorm, and snowstorms and ice storms. And if it's a windstorm, it could be a windstorm or it could be a tornado. And that's about it. But what's most impressive about our storms, if you think about it, is they are continuing to do what they've always done for ages. They are replenishing our water, and they are bringing us clean water. And this is where it gets interesting, based on insane research I've been doing since early August that feeds into this topic. And I want to preface, this research is on rain capture, rain retention, and rain filtration. But just know, as a student, I was dismal at science, and I ran from math. So all of the information I'm sharing with you that touches any of those disciplines, it's not me. But the disciplines do include geology, geography, engineering, and math. In other words, a lot of other people have done incredible work, and in digging into these topics, it is mind-blowing what is happening in cities and countries and states across this country in terms of what these storms are bringing and how they're handling their storms. So here we are in Douglas. I'm going to use that as our example, this tiny little city, which is a typical city in its tiny little way. It has homes and businesses and buildings and streets and other infrastructure. And we sit on a rise of sand overlooking the Kalamazoo River Basin, the end of our watershed, and the last place where our water goes before it meets Lake Michigan. When rain falls in Douglas, as much as 90% of it will find its way into our groundwater, or to the ground, I should say, and 75% of that will make it to the basin, or more, because of the sand. The water is looking for its receiving body, a technical term, and for us that is the Kalamazoo River or Lake Michigan. This is science. It's a watershed. The water always gets there. Believe it or not, I had trouble grasping that because it just goes in the ground. But anyways, to explain what happens next, I'm going to defer to the leadoff statement of the Kent County Drain Commissioner, and it says this: one of the most significant yet unrecognized groups of water contaminants is stormwater. When it rains, stormwater runs over yards, streets, roads, highways, parking lots, parks, and playgrounds, carrying with it every single thing in its path, including debris and pollutants. Eventually, the water will travel to a stream, either over the land or via a storm drain, and all the debris and pollutants that are picked up end up in your lakes and streams. So what are these pollutants? From our asphalt roofs, petroleum products. From our driveways, streets, and parking lots, oils and heavy metals, especially lead. From our lawns and landscapes, fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides. As one researcher in California explains it, every pollutant that goes into the ground stream or creek makes the water toxic, and someone or something will be drinking it. In short, our storms deliver us clean water and rain that, if not filtered, becomes poisoned on its short run to our river. I've been told by experts in this area that the pollution in that river is from runoff, and that we humans and our properties are the majority of the problem. It's the ones, we are not the regulated, but we are the ones that are doing this. So this is cheerful, I know, so it's going to get better. So we're going to play with numbers because I'm a mathematician. 37 inches, that's the average amount of rainfall in Saugatuck, Douglas. 3,300 square feet. That's the size of this roof. 1 inch of rain falling off of this roof, which we've been over that this morning, has resulted in 1,650 gallons of water hitting the ground. On an annualized basis, that's 68,000 gallons of water. The retreat house is 1,223 square feet, and it releases 25,000 gallons of water to the ground, untreated. And Spring Street is 2,100 square feet, and it's in for 44,000 gallons of water. So just our 3 properties capture and release 197,000 gallons of water a year. And by the way, I checked my math. I used every calculator out there, and I did some of it by hand, and that's about accurate, okay? And Google Earth is really fun for measuring rooftops. But it gets better. 99,000 square feet, that's the square feet of the pavement on Main Street, Douglas, running from Blue Star Highway down to the river. That 99,000 square feet area dumps 2.2 million gallons of water into the Kalamazoo River, pretty much directly. 75,000 square feet, the Douglas Elementary School, 1.5 million gallons, and because I couldn't resist, the combined parking lots and rooftops of DeMonts, the bank, the bowling alley, 135,000 square feet, equaling 3.1 million gallons of water. All of these, since they're hard surfaces, are polluted and going into our receiving body. So basically, when you step back and extrapolate, millions of gallons of water spilling over Douglas on a quick run down slope to our river. Now, I wouldn't be sharing this with you, now that I've got you deep in the Depression, if there wasn't a solution to all of this, and it's been found all over this country. There are multiple solutions, often actually. Most are governmentally integrated. There's big things you can do with grassroots and all sorts of crazy stuff, but everything you read will say this. There is one thing that if everybody would just do it, could change the course of everything, and that is to build rain gardens. And what is a rain garden? I said to myself at 4 a.m. in August sometime, and I started researching. It's a depression, a basin, a small patch of ground that is sitting beneath something that flows into it. It is filled with native shrubs, perennials, and flowers, and planted in the small depression. And it's designed to temporarily hold that water and slow it down and let it seep and soak through the roots of these native plants before heading on its way to the water. Rain gardens are effective in removing up to 90% of the nutrients and chemicals and 80% of the sediments that would otherwise run into our basin. So they're interesting. What's fun is why this works. Basically, rain gardens are replicas of what used to be here, the grand design, how it was supposed to be. They have extremely long roots. Our asters and all these things you see next to the road, their root systems tend to be from 3 to 15 feet, which you buy in a store are this big. But these go deep, and they go wide, and they interlace, and they create a screen and a sieve that scrubs the water. That's how they work. And they can be small. They can be 50 square feet to 100 square feet. That's typically all it is to capture rain off of a building like this and clean it and send it into the ground. I'm building a rain garden, if it stops raining, actually. And it's been an adventure. I've learned a lot about native plants, and I've had to go find them in Kalamazoo, but I hope to have it in within a couple of weeks. There's a lot we can do with this, and anyone who finds this interesting, just stay tuned, because I think we can turn it into something bigger by involving our community. I would love, where Holland have tulips, wouldn't it be cool to have Douglas have rain gardens? The following quote is from, I want to close on, is from Robin Wall Kimmerer, and she's the author of Braiding Sweetgrass, a book that many of us have read and been incredibly moved by, and if you haven't read it, what a piece of literature and wisdom. Throughout the book, she talks about her belief in mutualism, and that is the need for all of us to both give to the earth and then receive from the earth. And she says this: each person, human or not, is bound to every other in a reciprocal relationship. Just as all beings have a duty to me, I have a duty to them. If I receive a stream's gift of pure water, then I'm responsible for returning a gift in kind. An integral part of a human's education is to know those duties and how to perform them. And she says this: to love a place is not enough. We must find ways to heal it. And she says this: I close my eyes and listen to the voices of the rain. Okay, now I have to read a prayer. Give me a minute. Please join me in the unison prayer. God, our Creator, today we celebrate the wonders of the storm. We sing with the winds, the clouds, and the thunder. Teach us to recognize that your wisdom is embedded in all of creation. As we experience the awesome events of nature, help us to see your presence more fully during the storms of our lives. When the clouds hide the face of the sun in our lives, help us to remember that your light is still with us, even if we lose sight of it for a moment. This we pray in the name of Christ, who calms the storm and makes all things anew.
Amen.